Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JKWD podcast, where Kelvin appears to have learned to wait 3 seconds before picking up his coffee after I started speaking.
Yeah. You don't have to, spit all over the keyboard more than 5, 6 times in a row before you learn not to do that when you're talking or you're starting out. Good morning, Mr. Shear.
Morning. How you doing?
Pretty good. You're a little bit away from the microphone right now, so
Yeah. Oh, I was blowing my nose. You're going to hear my allergies coming through most of this episode. Josh's voice seems to have dropped 2 octaves. What's going on?
Yes, he moved away, but he's back.
So we've got Tracey Minutolo on today, side hustle coach. She's got a community over at sidehustlesuccesslab.com, and of course you don't have to write that down because you'll just be over on the show notes. I think Marlena wants to be heard as well. She
let you get through the podcast.
She did. She fell asleep, but she is back awake. Of course, we're speaking out of order because this is the intro, and you're going to hear the podcast after this.
Yeah.
But no, she's awake from before, and now it's later. Even though you're hearing this first.
We specialize in time warped podcasts.
True. We do talk about time travel a lot, don't we?
Yeah. That's it.
Well, we're coming up. It's the middle of May already.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Is it summer there yet?
We've had a couple of days of it.
Okay.
Right now, for some reason, it's raining a lot.
Okay. Well, I mean, we were in.
But there's no freezing.
We were in Miami recently at a family wedding, and a lot of the family is still in Massachusetts. And they said, "Man, it's been cold."
It's been crazy in some places. I'm like, it'll get up to like 60, 70 one day, and then the next day it's like, where did the snow come from? But right now it's just mostly raining. So pretty soon, by the time it finishes raining, I will probably be able to harvest my grass as hay and make some bread out of it for something.
Yeah, we've made the decision not to run the sprinklers. We have 5 different types of grass. So we have some that doesn't like it dry, and then some that just is 8 inches tall within a week.
Wow.
So the lawn guys come like every 2 to 3 weeks based on looking at our yard and figuring out what it needs. Mm-hmm. But we figured out that we could save about $50 every 2 months if we just didn't run the sprinklers. And the lawn looks more or less fine. But yeah, some of it we could probably make salad out of, and people wouldn't notice.
When I was in Korea, they used to go out in the backyard and get grass all the time and cook it up.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh, I might have to go back and look for some of those recipes. Maybe it really wasn't grass. I mean, I'm sure they planted something cool, but.
Well, I mean, we do eat some grass, like lemongrass and wheatgrass aren't called grass just for ha-has. They're actually grasses.
Oh, well, there you go. Nice.
I grew some wheatgrass in the house a couple of weeks ago.
Did you?
It tasted like grass.
Huh.
It really did. It didn't matter what I did with it. I cooked it into an omelet. It tasted like grass.
So are you doing any spices this year? I remember when I was up there, you were doing.
Well, I've got sprouts growing right now. I use a company called Hamama for that, and they send me they send 3 seed quilts a month, and they take about a week to grow. So it's really easy. They just send it. It's really just like it's like coconut husks
Yeah.
with seeds on top and a little paper covering, and you
Really?
put them in a tray of water.
Mhm.
And when the sprouts start to come up, you peel the paper off and let them come up, and then you just cut them and eat them.
Are they
But
reusable?
no, but they send you. Well, the trays are, so they just send you 3 new ones a month on a subscription, and you can rotate out what you're getting if you want. Now we had the porch covered, and with that we had to put in an interesting little drainage system, and the drainage system includes rocks. Now I have a baby, which means that when the baby crawls, the baby's going to want to start putting rocks in her mouth. So we got to find a way to cover the rocks, but maintain that area as drainage. So my brother has offered to build a planter to cover the area. So we'll be able to plant spices out on the porch.
Ah, there you go. That'll work.
Yeah.
So what are you going to have about August when I come visit next time?
Might not be much in August because it'll be hot. So it'll have to be something that can handle the heat. Yeah, but if we're gonna grow stuff, it'll be we'll get some basil out there. We'll stuff that we use, basil, mint. We'll probably do some catnip, which we wouldn't eat, but it keeps away the mosquitoes. They don't like it.
Good to know.
And we'll probably get 3 or 4. So maybe we'll put some flowers in there because why not? Flowers are pretty.
Sure. Well.
And I thought maybe we'd put some berry bushes outside at some point, but
Don't they bring like insects?
Yeah, but if we put them outside, it'll be okay. But because we eat a lot of berries in this house, and we've got actually, it looks like an invasive blackberry plant out front. It's actually growing inside another bush.
Wow.
That it's not a like this bush I've talked about trimming back because it's partway over the walk, which it's not hurting anything. It's not like kicking people off the path onto the grass or anything. But at some point it might. But inside that bush, there's another bush growing, and that bush seems to be sprouting berries right now.
Get a bunch of them. Maybe you can make some wine. You haven't made a bunch of alcohol recently.
Yeah. I do have a batch of beer that we made for the baby's birthday, and
that's right. I haven't had mine yet either.
We still have plenty, but we've got. Excuse me.
She's all dressed in orange today.
She keeps hearing about this beer, and we don't let her drink any, so she's very upset.
Shears are particular about their beer.
Yeah, so the beer came out good, but if we don't get a lot of blackberries, but we get a few, I mean, we could yank them off and make them into a new beer, or even just throw some in. Yeah, they've got a couple of growlers of the beer, and we could just throw them in one of the growlers so that we have one fruity version of the beer.
All right. Well.
But hey, we seem to be a little wandering off topic here.
We do an intro.
Yeah, but we do have an excellent podcast today with Tracey, and it'd be great for people who are interested in starting a side hustle or who have a side hustle and are looking for a little accountability or just a little bit of support.
Sounds very intriguing. She's been doing it a while. She's got some great followings, and I think you're really going to enjoy this if you're that side hustle kind of person. And if you're not the side hustle kind of person, it may give you some ideas.
Yeah, you might become one.
Yeah. So I think you should enjoy this.
All right.
Ready for the music?
Here's some music on the other side of it. We'll be there with Tracey. Josh and Kelvin World Domination Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go.
I believe the screen has started to glow. There's a celebrity among us. Well, hello there.
All right. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So nice for you to visit with us.
And very nice for you to invite me. I appreciate it.
Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Give us a little bit about you, about your mission, about your why, and about your community and all that right off the top.
Okay, sounds great. So I'm Tracey Minutolo, and I am a side hustle coach. I've been coaching for about a little over 3 years now, and I was a side hustler and still am a side hustler before that. So I just decided to turn it into coaching a couple of years ago because I had a lot of people asking me, how can I start a business like you've started? I want to earn money on the side too. So that is basically how I got into coaching. I run a community over on Mighty Networks called the Side Hustle Success Lab, and I migrated my community from Facebook earlier this year in January. Mighty Networks has been amazing so far. We can dig into that a little bit more if you want to. But yeah, so I help 9-to-5ers, primarily 9-to-5ers, and I say primarily because I do have some folks that are like stay-at-home moms who, have basically a small business that they would put the same amount of hours into as a side hustler who has a traditional 9-to-5. So I help all sorts of folks who are building side business style businesses, primarily service-based businesses. So, yes, and my mission basically is to empower folks that never really believed that they were business people or could have a business or could run a business, but have always wanted to. Mm-hmm. So us 9-to-5 employees, sometimes we have these dreams sitting in our cubicles, and sometimes it feels like just a dream. It doesn't feel like it's anything that can really happen. So I exist to help those folks basically, make it a reality. Like let's take what we're kind of dreaming about there, all the blogs we're reading, podcasts we're listening to, let's take all those ideas and turn it into something real where we can actually earn an income.
Awesome.
What was your first side hustle?
So my first side business was a virtual assistant business. So okay. I started, it's probably the end of 2015. I was working with podcasters actually who needed help with not so much the editing stuff, but uploading the files to mm-hmm. like Libsyn and things like that, but also social media, also a little bit of community management. That kind of moved into show notes, things like that, scheduling interviews with their guests. And then that kind of moved into me helping to give input and review like course material and worksheets and start making worksheets and start doing all kinds of cool things. I kept getting more and more opportunities, and I actually did get my first opportunity to coach through that. So I was working with a career coach. His name is Scott Barlow, and he has a show called Happen to Your Career. And it was awesome because he's primarily a career coach, but he had folks asking him, they wanted to start side businesses. So he created this program, and he had a mastermind version. So where he had several cohorts that were going to go through this program. And he's like, I would love to have your help coaching this thing. And I said, coaching? I don't coach. But I jumped on it. I took the opportunity, and it was really the best thing I could have done. I loved it. I took to it right away. And that's when I made my decision. I was going to phase out of the VA stuff and move into coaching.
Oh, that's too bad because I really suck at show notes. So darn. Okay. Well,
sorry. I know folks. I know a couple. I could make a couple of referrals if you want.
Well, it's awesome. You just answered all my questions. I'm like, how did you even start that? But you just told me. So, of all the coaching, the fact that you're a side hustle coach, I was like, Oh, wow. Well, I guess you really can coach anything because I'm a mindset guy. I teach mindset. Well, that's very interesting. And you've been doing this for how long now?
So I've been coaching for just about 3 years, a little over 3 years on my own. And then before that, it was like a year and a half or so with the virtual assistant business.
Okay, but you still have a 9 to 5.
I have a 9 to 5.
Okay, you gonna keep it? Wait a minute.
I think so.
Well, don't tell me.
No. And the name of the company is no.
Well, you get your stuff up over here, and you look. Okay, well, look, there's a nice place over there in Europe that I'd really like to hang out and side coach from.
I know, right?
Never know where those dreams take you.
Exactly. And the baby agrees.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she can be very opinionated, actually. So.
Yeah. So no, I actually one of those oddballs who doesn't mind, or actually, I actually really like my day job. About a year ago, I moved into a new role in my company, so I'm a project manager. Now. I was. So my background is in microbiology. I've been like a bench scientist, and after that I was in leadership. So I was managing microbiology lab, and I love science. I'm very detail oriented. It's kind of a great fit for me. But I found that I really enjoyed the people side of things more than the technical side. So I started taking on more opportunities at work, which actually led me into the role that I'm in now, which is it's actually in continuous improvement. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Toyota, the Toyota production system, Lean Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, but that's kind of my world now. So
gotcha.
Process improvement.
Just because you want to make stuff better.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I like it because I get to hang out with a lot of awesome folks throughout operations. I'm in operations in basically a molecular diagnostics company. So I'm working with folks from, all backgrounds and in all aspects of, the operation, from scientists to folks that are, on the packaging line or in the manufacturing suites, to like directors and VPs. So it's very cool.
So you take those processes from your 9 to 5, and do you port some of those over to your side hustle business as far as mindset or methodology? Tell us about that. I mean, what do you tell people when they say, "Hey, I want to do a side hustle"? What do I do?
Well, actually, that is one of the reasons selfishly why I love what I'm doing now at the day job, because there are a lot of tools and a lot of methodologies and a lot of the philosophy really, it applies to much more than just manufacturing. It really does. Like, it's really all about learning how to spot waste in your process and looking for ways to either eliminate it entirely or reduce it. So I've actually done a couple of series I have a Alexa daily flash briefing. I don't want to wake her up. She's back here. I did. She actually.
There you go.
Oh no! Hang on.
A friend of mine in my Toastmasters group, her husband likes Alexa, the machines that run our lives. One of my Toastmaster friends, Toastmasters here, her husband likes Alexas, and apparently they have 8 of them in her house. Not to mention the vacuum cleaner that can only be operated by voice command.
Okay, that's a little excessive. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. Yeah, no,
she feels that way too.
It's funny, we got my wife won a Roomba at work, and it connects to the internet if you want it to. And I'm like, do not connect that thing to the internet, because the last thing we need is, we don't know where that thing's sending information. Like, it knows where the walls are in the house.
Exactly.
It knows exactly how big the rooms are.
So that's a new side hustle. How to crack Roomba to
Yeah, it's technology. I mean, it's a little bit it's awesome, but I think that convenience, we're trading for that. So, but yeah, no, I was saying I've done a couple of different things for the side hustle business, taking concepts from work, from lean, elimination and reduction of waste in your process, things like that, and kind of turn those into little lessons for side hustlers. So it's kind of a way that I geek out. I take stuff that I find valuable and interesting, and I repackage it.
Yeah, you apply it to something else. But That's great. It's got to be really good for side hustlers too, because you're talking about people who, if they've got a 9 to 5 and then maybe they've got a couple of kids at home and they've got other responsibilities, in order to make it a successful business, which I think is really your goal, right? Is to help people make successful businesses out of their side hustles. You really got to cut down on the amount of waste that you've got in your processes.
Yep.
What are some of can you talk about maybe some of the tools without giving away your coaching package? Can you talk about some of the tools? Do you use stuff like Freedom and like other tools like that kind of block website? What kind of things do you preach there?
Yeah, so one of the big things that I work with, main things that I work with folks on, because a lot of people will come to me and just say, I've started this thing and I can't figure out where I'm going to get all the time to do everything I need to do to earn what I want to be earning with this business. Like I need to somehow find, 15 hours a week for this, 20 hours a week for this, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to make that happen. I have a kid, kids and work and all this, commute and all those things. So I use time blocking. That's one of the first things I usually start with folks on. And basically that's a tool that if you guys are not, or if the audience isn't familiar with this, it basically works on the same principle as if you've ever heard of Dave Ramsey's zero-based budget. It's a zero-based schedule. So it's, you have a finite number of hours in the week and you basically look at your week at a glance and you plug in all the things that need to get done, or, the obligations, things like the day job and all the things that need to happen, the sleep, meals, all of those things. And you look at what's left over. So that's how you can use it in like a diagnostic way. You can look at, where you're spending your time now. You plug all that in. You say, hey, I'm actually spending 5 hours over here watching Game of Thrones. I can repurpose that. But that's basically, I use like a combination of time tracking and the time blocking method. So the time blocking can be used up front as a diagnostic tool along with time tracking. And then it's actually used to build what I call like your future state or your kind of a template week. So it's essentially a template for what the average week looks like. Of course, things happen. You have a week where maybe you're at a conference or something is going on and it'll be a little different. But that's how you want most weeks to look. And that you'll basically be able to plug in, your side business time wherever you can. But it's very visual. So that's one of the tools that I use pretty much right away when folks come to me with time management and energy management things.
That's what it's called? Time blocking?
Time blocking. Yeah. And it's not my thing. It's out there. If you look it up, there are a lot of folks doing time blocking, but I have a couple of different things that I incorporate into time blocking to make it a little more flexible and a little more friendly. And I also use it for a few different things so it doesn't feel quite as rigid. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are like, I don't want to have this thing completely laid out and then I have to adhere to all of these time blocks. It's basically a guide. It's a guideline, and it's the primary use is just to show you where everything fits in your week. So if you think that you can take on a new commitment somewhere, let's look at the schedule and see where that's going to fit. Because you have it's a finite number of hours in the week. So if you're going to add something new in, that means something has to come off the schedule. Because I am a chronic overcommitter. My girlfriend will tell you this is true. I'm always like, I can do that. And then it becomes like, oh my God, there's no time.
I tell people all the time there's only 27 hours in a day. I'm like,
yep.
My sleep pattern is about, I'm changing it now, but Josh can testify to this, that generally speaking, for a really, really long time, my sleep pattern was right at 3.5 to 4 hours. Mm-hmm. That meant every time I went to sleep, like when I was really going to sleep, if I went to bed at 4 o'clock, I would be awake at 8. If I went to bed at 3 o'clock, I woke up too early and I was up at 6:30 or 7. It's just locked in there. There's a little more flexibility in there right now, but not much, because that's just those are the hours that I keep, and the rest of it was spent here, at the computer or thinking about doing things I was supposed to be doing when I sat down at the computer. So I need the time blocking thing. I may have to, I may have to send you money for that. If you have a specific guide on that, let me know. And
I do.
Oh, what a nice person.
Yeah, I have a guide. It's got a little workshop with it and the template. So yeah, because there's a couple of things you can do with it. Another thing that I recommend folks do is batch things. So if you're a coach like me, I have certain days of the week that are designated for coaching calls, and that way I'm kind of in the zone with the coaching calls. I'm not trying to do other things and going from here to there. I'm just in that coaching mode. Or if you're doing a podcast or something like that, I recommend using batching as much as possible where it makes sense. And the other way that you can do it is you can theme your day too. So if you're doing different tasks, but for the same project, maybe you're working on your podcast and you want to write some, I don't know, you want to maybe script out something, or you want to reach out to guests, or you want to record or edit, you can have it be a podcast day. So you're maybe doing different tasks, but you're working on the same project or the same general thing. So there's a couple of ways to do it, and it really just depends on preference and what, folks like to do. But, I also recommend that folks identify what I call a floating block in the week, so that if you lose time, which happens to me once in a while, I have an early work meeting and then my side hustle time in the morning goes bye-bye because I have to be in at work. Because as I mentioned, I work with manufacturing and they start their day at 6 a.m. So if there's something going on there, I may have to go in. So then I have an extra block that I have on the weekends. I also use my lunch hours as kind of a floating block. So yeah.
You're so organized.
I'm a little crazy.
Well, and then you've got to account for stuff like traffic.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Where you live?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in San Diego.
Oh, yeah. They have traffic out there.
They do. We're getting more and more traffic.
Yeah.
It's becoming more like, well, I won't say more like LA, but I think it is. But LA is still really bad. I'm glad I don't live up there.
Yeah, it's crazy up there. It's crazy stuff. Wow. So I don't know if this is a good question. Within your coaching experience and your side hustle experience, what would you consider to be your most successful, or your the coolest thing you've ever put together or helped somebody put together that makes you feel really proud that you do what you do?
So, in terms of client results, that's really exciting. So I can think of one client off the top of my head. In like 8 weeks together, she came to me with basically a couple of maybe fuzzy ideas of what she wanted to do, but nothing really clear. I'm sorry? What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I thought I lost the feed for a second, but you were just... Oh. Okay, try that again.
Sure. Yeah. So she came to me with a couple of like hazy ideas of what she thought she might want to do for a side business, but nothing really concrete and, not really any game plan. So we started basically, I wouldn't say 100% from scratch, but mostly from scratch with her. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the 8 weeks, she had her first client, her first like $1,000 gig contract signed. And like, that is so rad. So I was super excited. And really it's just a matter of, taking those ideas and kind of pulling out and teasing out, what it is that you really want the business to look like. So in terms of income, but also in terms of your lifestyle, what do you like to do? If you are really great with numbers, but you don't want to do somebody's books for them, like you don't want to be a bookkeeper, then don't do that. If you really love playing and, playing guitar, it doesn't mean you have to be a guitar teacher for your side hustle. It really needs to be something that you can picture yourself doing for at least, 15 hours a week, 10 to 15 hours a week. That's kind of the sweet spot that I recommend. And then is it going to get you to your income goals? Because if you're not earning what you need to be earning from that, if you're not getting out what you feel you should be getting out from what you're putting in, it's not going to be sustainable. So those pieces really need to be in place in order to really get a side business that you're going to want to do. Because it's very easy to create something for yourself that feels like another job and feels miserable. And when you're working with clients, it can be tricky too. So you really need to know who you want to work with. You need to be great about setting boundaries, identifying those boundaries, and really being as clear as possible up front with your clients so that you don't run into situations that are unpleasant. It's going to happen, but there's a lot of things that you can do on the front end. So a lot of those things are things that I can help clients with. But for me, I think the most satisfying thing is really, I guess in two ways. One, helping somebody get something started from like zero. They didn't think, they wanted to start a business, but they didn't really know what they wanted to start. And now we've got their first client for them. That to me is like, I love that. And then the other thing is somebody who's got an existing business that doesn't feel quite right. There's something that's not a great fit. I had a client who was a personal trainer and she, like I just mentioned, client boundaries not so much in place. She had people that were canceling on her like right before the session, people that would kind of text her and be like, yeah, I'm not going to make it. And she did have a cancellation policy in place. She wasn't enforcing it. A lot of things where she's just getting walked all over and she was miserable. So we did a couple of things up front too. She also had people that were standing her up who were interested in her services, and she'd set an appointment to meet them at the gym and everything. People would stand her up left and right. So we set a couple of things in place to help that process up front, to help filter and really just concentrate on the people that were going to be the best fit for her. Mm-hmm. And also ways to introduce and reinforce, her policies throughout her onboarding process. And you really, basically put all that stuff in place early, because that's really key. You can't really, if your expectations for people, aren't clear or you're not enforcing them, you can't really expect people to adhere to them. So yeah, those types of things are very rewarding when, you can make, the business fit someone in someone's lifestyle and what they want to get out of the business when it fits better. It's very rewarding.
So just out of curiosity, do you have any what we would call formal coach training, or is this just life experience and stuff you've learned just being awesome how you do things?
So yeah, as far as formal coach training, I am a Tiny Habits certified coach, and I'm also certified on Coach.me. So it's another, it started out as a habit tracking app, and then they developed a coach certification process. And now, you can go on there and, maybe start tracking your habits around something particular you want to do, and you can hire a coach to help you. So those are my 2 certifications. Aside from that, I'm just kind of a natural coach. I didn't know this, but this is kind of something it's evolved over the years, and I realize I'm kind of the person that people come to when they're struggling with something, and I help lead them, to the answer instead of always giving them the answer. I have a way
to find out,
Yeah, and so it's not something that I knew about myself. I was just always in leadership roles, and I really enjoyed it. It's for me finding a way to make my business fit me better too. So the VA business was great because I'm very detail oriented. I am a taskmaster. You tell me to get something done, tell me what you want, I will do it, and it felt fine. But like coaching has been, it's I bring more of me to that, more of who I am and my strengths. So.
Awesome.
Now you're talking to 2 guys who have do-it-all-yourself-itis. I'm sure you've come across some. I'm sure you've come across some clients in your time who suffer from this disease. How do you approach something like that? Is that something that you see a lot and help clean up?
So the do it all yourself thing?
Yeah.
So most of my clients up to this point have been very early on in their business journey. So they're not really at a point where they're looking to outsource anything or hire yet. I haven't even hired anybody yet, but what I do recommend for folks is that they document their processes. So they start, early. Once they find a workflow that's working, like if for you guys doing your podcast, I'm sure you have SOPs, you've got documents and checklists and things that go with that. That's the way that not only can you organize the work for yourself and make things easy so you don't miss anything, but it is also like it's the precursor to being able to really outsource or hire anybody for the team. So that's what I would recommend. It's kind of number 1. But most of my clients are like, they're very much at the very beginning of the spectrum, and it's not really, they're in the stage where you should know how to do everything, and you should get experience doing everything in your business so that you know it at least up front.
Well, I mean, I've started doing stuff like going to Fiverr for logo tweaks, that kind of thing, because I would spend hours, and I'm not good at Photoshop. I'm a hack at it, and I'm like, wait, I can spend $12 and somebody else will handle this for me? Okay.
Yeah.
Learning to, my history is I used to get people to help me do stuff, and then they throw it in my face for the rest of my life. And so I'm like, forget you. I don't need you. I used to read J.K. Lasser's tax book every year before doing taxes, and I was filing, the easy form. That was just wasted time. That kind of thing. But you learn a lot that way.
You do.
But eventually, if you have to do it all yourself, you drive yourself nuts. So
yeah.
I'm taking notes here for the stuff that you say that make habit me. I'm doing all of that stuff. And who is that guy who does the superhuman? Levi. Anyway, I can't think of his name.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
He has a podcast and everything on how to be a super learner, how to be superhuman and stuff like that. And,
oh, cool.
And he has a lot. They do a lot of hacks. So I have some learning to do. But processes. The one time I thought about outsourcing, and that was it. You can't just tell a VA to handle it. Like, this is what we do. This is what you need to do. And that other way didn't work very well. So, thank you very much for the write down your processes note.
Yeah, and truthfully, I mean, like graphic design is not my strong suit either, and I have hired things out for that as well. I generally try to recommend folks, at least when they're just getting started, keep the expenses to a minimum, because what can happen very quickly is you end up with a very expensive hobby and not really like a side business. So, and that's kind of a bummer. So, yeah, Fiverr is a great place to look for stuff. And generally if you're in any of like the business oriented communities, either on Facebook or wherever it is, you can ask for recommendations. I'm looking for somebody on Fiverr who can do this. Somebody will be able to give you a recommendation for it typically. So
I was looking at your website a few minutes ago. Actually, I was listening to your website, and I am amazed that you have 1 minute segments of advice.
I'm amazed too, because I can be very long-winded, so some of them are longer.
Oh, okay. Because it takes me a minute to say hi, But I like that concept because you can just go in and grab and it's like it's succinct. There's no wasted words. The principle is there. And it's like, bam! I salute you for that. That's very.
Thank you. Well, see, I had always wanted a podcast. Really for the longest time, but I knew that at least as far as the amount of time and energy and effort that I have available to give to my side business, that it wasn't really going to happen in that way. I mean, having like a fully produced podcast that's like a half hour long with bumper music and all this stuff, and me coordinating interviews. So this is kind of my my way of scratching that itch, but in a way that's manageable for me.
Yeah, Josh and I started podcasts and we were again, do yourself. We did the bumper music. We did everything, and I still do. And right now, I'm the technical,
and Kevin's the audio guy.
I'm the producer guy for the doing the audio and stuff. But it would be nice. Well, no, actually, I enjoy that. But and he had to convince me at first that I didn't have to be so perfect. You have to learn how to be perfect with this stuff. And so we have fun with it. So when you hear this podcast, when it comes out, I'm the audio guy.
Awesome. Well, nice job in advance. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it. And I will script them out. So they are scripted because it's hard for me to talk off the cuff and keep it succinct. It really is. So I'll script them out. But I feel like, I'm starting to sound a little more natural, even though to me it still sounds a little scripted, but that's the way I'm actually able to do this. So I'm excited about it. And, at the end of the day, I have all of these little nuggets that I can do whatever with. I can maybe turn them into a little book or something at some point. So kind of fun.
Cool. So how do you advertise, because they're already in your Mighty Network, so they know about you. So how do you, well, actually, how do you get like more clientele, and when do you run out of time and stuff like that? And
yeah, so some of it is, through other Mighty Networks groups, and I am still on Facebook. So some of it is just, through connections I meet on Facebook as well. I mentioned I'm a coach on Coach.me.
Oh, that's true.
There's a built-in like search function there, and people can look for specific things that they want to get coaching in, and I show up as one of the options. So that's been a great really been a great source of not just clients, but also folks that kind of come into my world that way and end up on my email list. And I do podcasts. So that's pretty much it at this point in time. That's what I've been focusing on, which for me has been good because, like I said, I don't really have more than 20 hours a week to give. So I've got an upper limit as far as, how many clients I can handle at any given time. So. Okay. Oh, and the daily flash briefing. Yeah. So that's the other thing.
You do group webinars or events sometimes, or no? You haven't done that yet.
So most of the group like coaching and webinar masterclass style things have been inside of, first inside my Facebook group, but now it's inside of the Mighty Networks group. So it's in a paid capacity now. So for the Side Hustle Success Lab, we have a monthly meetup, which is a really casual, like, let's get together, talk about what we're working on. We do a little bit of masterminding, depending on who's on the call and who needs what. Mm-hmm. We also do a monthly goal setting, goal tracking workshop. So I have a particular tool that I use for that, and it's kind of it actually incorporates the time blocking method. So we walk through that together, and I'm going to be adding in a book club soon. So we're going to be able to get on and have like book discussions and stuff. So, and yeah, it's relatively new on Mighty Networks, and I'm very excited about it because of the fact that now it's a membership community. The people that are coming in are way more committed. They're not sort of the fly by night. I just searched a couple keywords on Facebook and I found you, but I'm also in like 5,000 other groups. So this is a little more intentional. The folks that are there actually really want to participate. So for me, I'm happy to do more for them. I've also in the past, and something that I want to bring back is I've done like virtual co-working. So we'll get on a Zoom session kind of like this. Mm-hmm. And everybody will announce their intention for what they want to use the time for. And then we'll go and do our work, and then we'll come back together and kind of report back what we got done in the hour. Oh, wow. So yeah, I call it study halls. So Side Hustle study halls.
That's nice.
Nice.
I like that.
Tell us a little bit about the lab, about your Mighty Network. What sorts of people are in there? How many people are in there? Are you enough to kind of break off into their own groups yet? How many? You've got 30 virtual assistants who are talking amongst themselves, and people who are coaches talking amongst themselves and all that, and also coming together, or what sorts of people are in there?
Yeah, so it's a mix of folks, even, people that are on the cusp of starting their first side hustle. They may have a couple of, ideas, but they haven't actually started yet. So they are, I would say that's the minority. The majority of the folks that are in there already have something started, and they're at different stages. I have a few people that are full-time business owners in there that have been kind of in my world for a long time. They came with me from Facebook. They followed me over, and people that have several businesses. So it's really a mix. Primarily, I would say it's heavily weighted towards service-based folks. So people I don't have as many people that are doing like e-commerce and stuff, but they are there. And we are still small but mighty. So we're under 100 members right now. Yeah, so it's small, but it is, the engagement has been it's just been a lot different. It's been a completely different experience versus Facebook. And I think part of it too is because you don't have as many of the distractions as you do on Facebook. There's no sidebar with ads and click here and all of this other
notifications aren't
stuff.
Always going off, and
so it's more of a sort of like a encapsulated little experience. So once you log in and you're inside the group, you're inside the group, and then there are different subtopics within the group. So we can talk about, I have one for books, I have one for like promotion. So whatever you're working on, you can promote, but we have a special way that we kind of do that first. We basically, you don't just go in there and drop a link and you say, blah, 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 this is what I do. You have to share a lesson first. So you have to teach something, some nugget first, and then say, by the way, this is what I do. So it's basically like a value first policy. So yeah, it's been really great so far. It's been kind of a learning curve for me too, because Mighty Networks is different from Facebook. So people, getting oriented to, how the app works and everything, and dealing with the notifications and getting everything set up the way they want it. It takes a little bit of time. But by and large, I've gotten some really good feedback from the members.
Excellent. I heard about it recently, and I've got to check that out because it sounds like really awesome. So
Yeah, and we've taken part in groups that are migrating from Kajabi over to Mighty Network. So where you're talking about coming from like this huge thing on Facebook, funneling into this. Kajabi's you've got so much that it can do, and Money Networks is competing straight with them, but pulling
Yep.
those Facebook groups out. So
Yeah.
they're a little bit more price effective, I think.
Yeah, and Mighty Networks has that functionality with courses too, so you can create. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff. So what is your for belonging to your Mighty Networks group? Is it a tiered thing, or is it one price, or are there
One price.
qualifications you have to meet before you can join?
Not necessarily qualifications, but we are looking for folks who are action oriented. So not necessarily going, the folks that want to kind of be the fly on the wall and observe everything. Really want to, and even if you don't have your side business up and running yet, that's okay. But you should be in that stage where you're like testing out ideas and starting to get ready to go. And it's one price right now. It's still sort of in a beta stage, so the pricing is very, very friendly. It is $50 for the year. Okay. So it's super cheap at this point in time. But that is because I'm trying to grow this and really trying to build up the community. So yeah.
Sounds exciting, actually.
It's exciting for me, yeah. And I think it's been good because I've been able to give a lot more attention to people who are like more engaged. In the past, like in Facebook, and I used to have a weekly live broadcast that I would do in the Facebook group. And over time, I mean, it took a lot of work for me to put together. I'd have guests every week. It was called Sunday Brunch, and I had this thing going on, and it was great, but it was so like hit or miss as far as the attendance. Right. People were here and there, and it started to feel, over time, like I was just putting a lot into it, and it was just kind of not landing anywhere. So it's just a more concentrated effort. And then yes, the group is smaller, but the engagement is higher because people have self-selected in. Right. So it's more rewarding for me, and it kind of inspires me and fires me up to do more. So it's been really good.
So you've only been at this a few years now, and you've already seen something of a shift. Well, not something of a shift, like a fairly large shift from where you started to where you are now. Going from a VA into a coach. Where do you think this is going to go for you in the next 5 years? What are you looking at for a 5-10 year plan?
Yeah, so I've always seen myself, I love coaching, but I've always seen myself as well. And this is why maybe the Facebook group model wasn't 100% a great fit for me. Not so much as any type of guru or expert, but as a facilitator, as somebody who brings people together for the discussion, brings other people in with other expertise. So I have my own expertise, but then I don't know everything about side hustles. So, nobody does. But, I feel like at least the way that the original kind of model for Facebook groups was established is that you needed to be like the leader. You needed to be the one and only person giving the answers to everybody who's asking questions in your group. You need to, really establish that, that kind of that iron fist in the Facebook groups, or you were going to get walked all over. And, that's kind of the way it was and what my experience has been. And so the Mighty Networks allows me to like that model. And do you guys know Tara Gentili or Tara McMullen?
No.
She's got married, so she's got a new last name now. But it's basically her model that I've been able to utilize to build my new group on Mighty Networks with this sort of no gurus policy. So it's bringing together the collective expertise of a lot of people and really, using that collective mind versus any one expert in any area. So we have specialists in lots of areas, and you can get your questions answered, and I'm not the be all end all. So it takes a little bit of pressure off of me, at least as far as feeling like I have to have the right answer all the time. I have to, be on top of everything. And I can just allow the conversation to develop and grow organically in the group. And so basically I see this community really just being my primary thing, just growing this thing, eventually, hiring an assistant to help me manage the group. But that being the main thing, and maybe doing, continuing to do coaching, but maybe that would be a little bit less of the, if there's a big pie, more of the pie would be time and income, basically with the group, growing this community, and basically just maybe seeing where it goes from there. Maybe it'll turn into like live events, like live in-person events when things grow to a certain size. But that to me, like, one-to-one coaching is fun. It's a blast, but I love getting a bunch of people together. Like my big dream is to get a bunch of side hustlers in a room and we'll just talk shop and hang out and, that. So I'm doing that virtually, and eventually, we'll do that in person.
Nice. It sounds like one of the things I admire in people is people who can be connectors rather than do it all yourselfers. Like, no, you want to go talk to Jamie or Melissa or Jessica or whoever. The thing that you want, that person knows how to do it. Go talk to them. You don't need me.
Yep. And the strength of the community is more, it's greater than any one individual. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're, somebody who's like been in business for, a really long period of time, there's something that you don't know about. So not only that, but I think it's not just, getting answers to like specific questions. It's just the support. It's knowing that, there are people like you around. And I know for side hustlers, and I can speak for myself and, also for the folks that come into my community, they're really just looking for connection. They want to talk to other people who are in the same or a similar situation, trying to get something started. Maybe they don't have friends or, in real life, friends in their neighborhood that are 100% supportive. Maybe their family, it's not quite where they want to be as far as, the support for the side hustle. So they want the support. They want the encouragement. They want, accountability is a big thing. So it's like we have on Mondays and Fridays, we have basically you state your intentions on Monday in our weekly focus thread. And then on Friday, it's the celebration thread. So it's like, what did you want to accomplish? And then how did it go? So I have folks that use that every single week, and that's their accountability. So it's been really, I think, at least anyway, the strength of just having a lot of people there and sharing and supporting each other is a better fit for me versus me trying to kind of dominate this group and worry about other people coming up and quote unquote stealing my clients. Like it's just, it's not, that's not even a thing anymore.
Sounds quite exciting. I'd kind of like to be a fly on the wall in that for a while. But I know how you hate that.
Or you could just join and participate.
Or you could just participate. Yep.
I read the, Josh wrote and told me about you, and I'm like, really? Side hustle? That should be interesting. And it really is. You bring a lot of life and spirit, and I kind of like your philosophy. I like your view on things, and I imagine that the people who are in your world feel exceptionally supported and valued, and that's I think that's a good gift you give to the world.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I aim to. And honestly, part of it comes from the fact too that, just being in online business groups for entrepreneurs, I feel like side hustlers can get lost in the mix. A lot of times it's even just small things like, Facebook Lives or events and things that are held like during the workday. Sorry, I can't make it because, I work. Or whatever it might be, but it's just, side hustlers need, they need communities of their own because we're all creating businesses, but side hustlers have particular needs and considerations that sometimes we get lost in other groups. And so it was really just a matter of, for me, wanting to create a space like that was very like side hustle friendly. So we do a lot of events on the weekends because I know that's, for some people it's family time, but at the same time, that's when a lot of us are really putting in time in our businesses. So.
Right. And I like, coming off of Facebook because one of the things I found being in Facebook groups is that the way the feed works, you just might miss something because of how the feed is structured. So if you're not intentional about clicking on a group, making sure you're in the group at the right time, because even going into the group, if the post isn't promoted in the right way, then if it happened 45 minutes ago, you don't see it for 3 days.
Yeah, and very true. And it just, when I was at my peak with Facebook, I was one of those people who was in hundreds of groups and not necessarily remembering to check everything and not participating the way that I wanted to. In some groups, I would always kind of look and be like, yeah, I need to spend a little time in there, and I never would. It's just too overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So in at this point in time, I'm actually just not really, I'm still on Facebook, but it's just, I find that it's like very noisy. It's really noisy. So I'm not really wanting that as much now.
Well, this is go ahead, Kelvin. I think I was getting ready to do what you were getting ready to do. So, okay. Which is all right. So you came on here and you have a message for everybody. And what was the thing you wanted to make sure that everybody realized that we have not asked you yet?
Wow. You guys have not asked me yet. Mm-hmm. Well, I think, and this is probably at the heart of everything I do, it's really that there's room, in this whole crazy business thing, there's room for everybody who wants to do it. There really is. You don't have to have, many years of expertise. You don't have to have a business background. You don't have to have all of the right pieces lined up all in a row before you get your thing started. You just have to have the desire to want to get something started, and you want to, you have to put the energy into it. But it's possible. And, there are resources out there. I mean, even if it's not mine, but there are resources out there. There's support out there that, you can make it happen. So it's really, that's the message. That's really what it comes down to.
Where would you like people to connect with you online?
Yeah, so folks can find out more about me at TraceyMinutolo.com. So that's TraceyMinutolo.com. They can find out more about the Side Hustle Success Lab at SideHustleSuccessLab.com. Can find out more about my coaching at SideHustleSuccessHabits.com. And if they are interested in my Alexa daily flash briefing, that's SideHustleSuccessMinute.com.
And we'll have all those hooked up at the show notes and everything. So
awesome.
Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. I'm glad we got to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, and we will send you a link when this is up, and I think we got you out of here just a little bit early. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch up with you soon.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends, and we will see you next week. Bye. A Better Humanhood production.